everybody. Thank you for joining me for Reverent Readings tonight. It is so good to have you here. Hold on just 1 second. Did that help? Nope, did not help. Oh, sorry about that. I thought I had that level. Maybe I moved. Anyways, I'm sorry about that. Welcome to Reverent Readings. It is so good to have you all here. For those of you who do not know what this is, perhaps it is your first time here, I want to say an extra big welcome to you. Thank you for watching tonight. And what Reverent Readings is every weeknight at 9:30 I do a live stream of a devotional reading, and I have, since the beginning of this series, I have been reading from a devotional book called Horse Tales from Heaven by Rebecca Ondav. And Rebecca Ondav, she worked at a ranch in Minnesota. She would go on pack trips. It was a sort of a dude ranch, and hunting trips. She was a cook on hunting trips and things like that. So she was in the wilderness for months on end and without going to civilization. So she has very many interesting stories, and all of which she connects in some way to a situation in her life. So they are just really great stories, and I'm very excited for tonight's story because it is one of my favorites in the whole entire book. Just because when I first read this book, I think I was like 8, so that was like 8 years ago, and I remembered this one. I've remembered it up until now, and I'll probably continue to remember it, but especially because of that time in my life. Some of you know, I think that my father was in the Army, and used to be in the Army, and he spent a few years away, and this one really helped me through that time. So I'm very excited to share this story with you guys tonight. And before I get started though, I just want to say please go check me out on Facebook at The Well-Rounded Girl, and like my page. I post updates and reminders, and if I happen to have to cancel Reverent Readings one night, I post that on there as well. So please just go give that page a like so you stay up to date with things that are going on. Also, please check out my blog. There is a link in the description for that as well. And check out the link down there for Amazon Prime. Get a free 30-day trial when you sign up through that link. And I just want to invite all of you to please chat with me if you feel moved to chat, to share something during the reading. You can do that by using the chat box on the right-hand side of your screen. Or if you want to hold it or wait until after the reading, you're welcome to do that as well. But I encourage all of you to please share something that you would like to share. I get some people that share with me on my Facebook page, but I invite you to do it live so that we can discuss it after the reading. That's kind of my goal here, is to make this into a sort of a Bible study, where friends can just come and we can just discuss the reading. And if you're not watching this live, I encourage you to comment in the comment section down below, and we can discuss it down there. Just any questions, any bit of information, a story maybe you'd like to add. But if you would not like to do either of those, you are most welcome to contact me on Facebook. So we are going to go ahead and get started. And tonight's devotional reading is called Grizzly in Camp. And the Bible verse says, "Do not be afraid of the terrors of the night." Psalm 91:5. In the white canvas cook tent, waves of heat emanated from the wood stove. Traditionally, the last night in hunting camp gets pretty loud, and this night was no exception. 11 of us, crew and guests, ate steak dinners around the long plank table. We hooted and hollered, trying to one-up each other as we swapped stories of our adventures during the past 9 days. Suddenly, the tent flap parted. A frigid breeze blasted through as a wool-gloved hand holding a Coleman gas lantern appeared. Darren stepped trance-like into the tent. Snowflakes clung to the Wrangler's winter jacket. The light of the lantern eerily illuminated his face. I was on the way to the corrals to feed the horses, and I almost tripped over a grizzly, he said. Everyone stopped mid-motion. We stared at each other. Only the hiss of the lanterns broke the silence. Jack ran his hand through his white hair. Let's check it out. Jack and the guides shrugged on their jackets and pulled on their hats. They grabbed guns and lanterns and then stormed the corrals to check on the horses and to track the beast. The plastic plates rattled in the sink as I scrubbed them, my imagination running wild. Cooney Creek Camp, 17 long horseback miles into the wilderness, consisted of a half a dozen white canvas wall tents, pitched in a grassy meadow rimmed by cliffs that funneled all trails through the center of camp, including the Grizzly Migration Trail. Tomorrow everyone would ride for home except me. I was staying 4 more days and 3 nights. My job? To keep the grizzlies out of camp, and they were migrating right now. A half hour later, Jack and the guides stomped snow off their boots as they stepped into the cook tent. I asked, "What's up?" Darren replied, "The horses are bunched in the corral corner snorting, but they're fine." Jack poured himself a cup of coffee. "What kind of bear is this? He wasn't cautious at all." Jack paced. The bear boldly checked out the entire camp, and the lanterns were lit in all the tents and at the corrals. All of us were hooting and hollering, too. He stroked his mustache and nodded his head. "He'll be back, I'm sure. He found dinner. He dredged the dishwater pit." I retreated to my tent and lay on my cot with my eyes wide open. The biological name for grizzly, Ursus arctos horribilis, translates into horrible northern bear. It has a reputation of being one of the most ferocious and dangerous mammals in North America. I shuddered as I thought about their attributes. They are nocturnal. I can't see that well at night. They can outrun a horse in a quarter mile. Not me, I'm the pokey puppy. The notorious hump on their back is a massive muscle that enables them to use their paws with stunning striking force. I've seen videos of grizzlies running through a herd of elk, swatting their heads and killing them with single blows. Because of their thick layer of fat and slow metabolism, it's hard to shoot them dead before they get you. And I knew they could use their 4-inch long front claws like can openers when prying open an automobile. All I have is a thin sheet of canvas between the bears and me. After breakfast, I walked to the corrals to say goodbye to the guests and crew. Jack tossed his saddle on his mule. While tightening the cinch, he asked under his breath, "Have you got enough ammo?" I nodded. My heart pounded as he swung his leg over the saddle. He glanced at me compassionately and said, "Watch out for that bear." The guests mounted their horses. Jack reined his mule down the trail and shouted to the guests, "We're burning daylight." The guests tipped their hats as they rode past me, followed by wranglers leading the strings of mules. I watched until the last mule disappeared around a bend. I kicked my toe in the dirt. It's gonna be a long 4 days. I busied myself chopping kindling. With each swing of the axe, I reviewed the facts. Grizzlies gorge themselves in the fall to put on a thick layer of fat that feeds their body all winter while they hibernate. It had been a dry year, so berries and their normal food sources were scarce. This bear had eaten a buffet in our camp last night. He'd be stupid not to come back. I was sleeping in the grocery tent this trip. My nightstand was a wooden kitchen box brimming with candy bars. All day long that grizzly terrorized my mind. While pouring Coleman fuel into the lanterns, I summed up my resources. One 12-gauge shotgun, one 357 pistol, 2 cans of bear spray, and my German Shepherd, Rye. Dogs aren't much use against a grizzly. I'd have to keep her tied to my tent, but at least she'd growl and wake me when the bear came by. I hoped so, anyway. The afternoon lagged. I bundled up my sleeping bag and carried it into a guest tent, far away from the groceries. By dinner, I was emotionally exhausted. I plunked down at the kitchen table and sipped chicken soup. I browsed through the stack of mail that had come with the pack string. Thumbing through a magazine from one of my favorite ministries, an article caught my eye. It was about the protection found in Psalm 91. Part of that psalm says, "If you make the Lord your refuge, if you make the Most High your shelter, no evil will conquer you, no plague will come near your home, for he will order his angels to protect you wherever you go." The article recounted the adventures of soldiers during the World Wars, the whole units of them who prayed Psalm 91 every day. Every one of them lived. I'm in a war right now with this blasted grizzly. I wonder if Psalm 91 will work for me. The sun slipped behind the mountain. Tall shadows crept between the tents. I gathered wood and built a campfire. In the flickering light, I read Psalm 91 aloud, ending my prayer with, "Lord, please post your angels around this camp to keep the grizzlies out." Darkness smothered the camp. A cool breeze whispered through, carrying the clean mountain air down from the peaks. I hung a glowing lantern in the cook tent. Retreating to my guest tent, I lit the wood stove and tied Rye up. I slipped shells into the shotgun and chambered one. I thumbed cartridges into the 357 pistol and placed it on the cot next to my head by the bear spray and the flashlight. Instead of burrowing into my sleeping bag, I tucked it around my shoulders. I slipped on a black stocking cap so I could keep my head warm while listening for the bear. I rolled on my side, watched the dog, and waited. The night lingered. A twig broke. I jerked up and reached for the flashlight. Then a couple deer bounced past. I knew if the deer were in camp, the bear wasn't. I lay back down. Just as I started to doze, an owl hooted. The sound floated eerily past the meadow. At midnight and at 4, I pulled my black jacket over my flannel pajamas and snuck into the cook tent to refuel the lantern. Finally, the first rays of sunlight glistened through the canvas. The bear never showed. The next terror-filled days were followed by sleepless nights. Even though I prayed while sitting by the campfire, I wondered, does Psalm 91 really work? Or has the bear left the country? Every time a twig snapped or the wind rustled through the brush, I sat up and reached for the flashlight. I could barely keep my eyes open by the time I heard hoofbeats the 4th day. I lumbered through the camp to watch the crew and guests ride through the grassy meadow. Darren, pulling a string of mules, reined his horse over. He handed me the lope to the lead mule, dismounted, and asked, "Did you see any grizzlies? There are tracks everywhere around camp." I nonchalantly shook my head and replied, "Not a one." On the inside, I was jumping up and down. It worked! It really, really worked! I didn't understand it, but reciting Psalm 91, seeking God's help, had kept the bears out of camp. As time passed, each time I was in grizzly country and knew they were around, I talked to God, praying Psalm 91. I gained more confidence until I truly learned to not be afraid of the terrors of the night, which is verse 5. Now I pray Psalm 91 over my family and me each day. I might not be facing grizzlies, but I know when I pray, God listens and protects us. Lord, thank you for giving me your word, which goes forth to protect me from danger. Teach me to rest in your promises. Amen. I hope you guys enjoyed tonight's reading. This is my favorite reading in this whole entire book. It gives me goosebumps to read it. I love this. I don't even want to call it a story because it's true. But I love this devotional. And like I said at the beginning, in case you missed the beginning, I'll say it again, that my dad used to be in the army and he spent 3 out of 4 years overseas, and while he wasn't on the front lines, he was at a safe army camp. But still, when I read this, I started praying Psalm 91, and it made me feel better that I knew that he would be safe, even more so beyond what the army was doing to keep him safe, knowing that God would keep him safe. And it made me feel a whole lot better praying it. And, you know, Rebecca is one of the true stories of how praying Psalm 91 protected her, and the article that she read about the soldiers in the world wars that prayed Psalm 91, that all those soldiers in that group that prayed Psalm 91 lived through the war. And it's just amazing how God really does listen. There were bear tracks all around her camp, but not a single one inside camp. It was as if God drew a line around her camp and told the bears they couldn't go any further, which is probably what he did. And it's just amazing to me. I love that story. It just really shows me how awesome our God is. So if there's anything else you guys would like to add to tonight's devotional, please do so using the chat box on the right hand side. If you enjoyed tonight's devotional, please give this video a thumbs up, and please be sure to share it with all your friends on Facebook, email, text message, however you want. Tell them to meet us here every weeknight at 9:30. This is the last devotional of this week, but I will see you all back here on Monday at 9:30. So be sure and come back for more devotionals like this one. Again, if you guys have anything you want to add to tonight's devotional, you can do so using the chat box, or if you're not watching this live, do so in the comment section down below, or if you feel more comfortable, you can contact me on Facebook. My page is The Well-Rounded Girl. So one last thing, guys, check out Amazon Prime. There is a link in the description for a free 30-day trial of Amazon Prime. Please go check it out, and when you sign up through that link, you are supporting this channel. So please go check it out, and tell all your friends to meet us back here on Monday, and I will see the rest of you guys there also at 9:30. Have a wonderful weekend, everybody, and God bless you. Good night.
Let me be your mouth, let me speak all of your words.